Hoops through life. Hoops through life.
Welcome to another episode of Hoops Through Life, a podcast where we discuss the women's basketball collegiate recruiting process and transition from high school to college. I'm your host, Elspeth Bierman. Our guest today is Coach Tom Shirley. Coach Shirley started his coaching career as a head coach at DeSales University, where in his final season and DeSales' inaugural NCAA Division III debut, the Bulldogs were 24-6 overall and made it to the Sweet 16 of the NCAA Tournament. He is now entering his 35th season as a head coach at Thomas Jefferson University, where he is also the assistant vice president for athletics. Coach Shirley has guided the Rams to 13 NCAA tournament appearances, 5 Central Atlantic Collegiate Conference (CACC) championships, 2 Eastern Collegiate Athletic Conference crowns, and 2 New York Collegiate Athletic Conference titles. In 2014, 2023, and 2024, he was named the CACC Coach of the Year. He is the winningest coach amongst active NCAA Division II coaches. Coach, thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. Happy to be here.
All right, so what?
One typo that we were the Centaurs of Allentown College when I was there. The Bulldogs. Changed. When they went to DeSales, they changed to the Bulldogs. We were the Centaurs.
Okay, so yeah, that's good to know because I actually didn't know that, and I didn't know that when I was doing research, I didn't know that DeSales wasn't always part of the NCAA. I learned that they were
started out in NAIA.
Yeah, very cool. All right, so what's the first thing you notice about a student athlete? Let's say you're watching courtside. What draws you in?
What doesn't draw me in is the first thing I look for is who carries the backpack. And the second thing I look for is whether or not mom is sneaking Gatorade to the bench. And I say that in all sincerity. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking for a self-sufficient young lady that takes care of her own business, gets her own drink, carries her own bag, changes her sneakers, doesn't send mom or dad out to the car for what she forgot. She goes and gets it. That's my very first impression of someone that we're considering.
And then what about once they let's say they pass that first line, what are you looking for when they step on the court?
I like to watch warm-ups because I think you can tell in warm-ups if a kid can play or cannot play. I mean, just and this sounds funny, but just the way their uniform fits them, that they have that athletic physique that we're looking for. Can they make a layup? Can they shoot a jump shot with pretty good rhythm and a pretty good stroke? Those are the things you're looking for initially. Now, if we've already kind of looked at the young lady and we know who she is, we know all that. But part of my AAU thing is I go to courts where I don't know anybody just to see if I can find kind of a stranger that might fit our program. So those are the things you look for initially.
And so I've had a couple people who listen to the show reach out to me, and they're very interested about like the talent side of everything. So I might ask just a few more questions just to dig in a little bit on that. So what is, you kind of mentioned this a little bit about like your criteria for evaluating their talent, but what numbers, if any, matter to you?
Well, I think what matters most, and I think sometimes people forget about this, is recruiting is really selective in terms of this might be the year I need a point guard. This might be the year I need 6'1", 175. So just because your daughter can play, it may not be the year I need the position that your daughter plays. So I think it's important that people talk to coaches and say, what are you looking for in your 25s and 26s? I break it down that we need guards, we need centers, and we need versatility. That's kind of what we're looking for. So in any given year, for example, if this year in the class of 25, you told me you had an unbelievably major, big-time inside banger, I don't need that. I got the kids I have, and I'm loyal to the kids I have. So I think that's the first thing we're looking for, is for us to identify to the general public what we're looking for. And then it comes back to, I use the analogy recruiting is like dating. Like kids have to find schools and schools have to find players. So somehow an initial introduction has to take place. Somehow a campus visit has to take place. So in addition to their talent, you're looking for, example, when I call, is the voicemail set up? Is it actually set up? Or is it full and not accepting messages? Or is there crazy music that I don't understand? It takes 12 minutes till I can leave a message. So I'm looking for a kid that kind of suits an old school coach's needs, So like if you're coming to see me and you're looking for a scholarship and your jeans are all cut up and ripped, that's a problem. That's a problem. There's so many other things. I always tell them, go to Walmart. I got scissors. I'll help you out when you get here. I mean, save you some money. But I look for so many other things before I worry about the basketball player, because you cannot coach bad kids. If you get a bad kid with a bad attitude or higher expectations than are realistic, that's a problem. So it's really a lot of grassroots research. It's personal observation. It's talking to coaches. It's talking to AAU people. That's kind of, I don't know if that answered your question, but and in addition, she can play in the position that I need.
Yeah, as they say, addition by subtraction, right? But you mentioned, okay, you need to get connected in some way, shape, or form. What are the ways that you typically get connected with those student athletes initially?
Well, we get inundated with emails from players all the time about, I'll be at this tournament this weekend. I'm on court 7 and court 12, and here's my time. I would say, the one thing that's probably changed in the last 10 years is I go to JV games now, where I never went to JV games, because I'm looking at 9th and 10th graders, and while I can't contact them till going into their junior year, I can still start to notate who they are. So I can't tell you that I'm really often surprised and someone kind of sneaks up on us as much as we already know going in, because I'm a big proponent of high school games. So we as a staff probably see 150 high school teams over the course of a year. And that's kind of where our first leads come from. And then, of course, you seek out the phone number, and, come June 15th, going into their junior year, you start to make contact. And or you've talked to the AAU coach earlier, and the AAU coach says they're interested. There's no magic formula. It's sometimes, I'm looking for that big kid, and that big kid happens to email and say, I played a 5 spot. I'm averaging 17 points a game and 12. Well, now I got to click on the huddle, and now I'm intrigued. So, and then you look at the huddle, and, of course, everybody's got the halo over their head in huddle, and they make every shot and get every rebound. But you look past that, you say the kid can play a little bit, and then you make a phone call. It's just, it's like I go back to when I was a teenager at the mall. There's 3 young ladies walking my way, and it's like, boy, that certain one on the left is really cute. Now, that doesn't mean the other 2 aren't cute. That just means I'm personally attracted to the one on the left. So it comes down to a coach's attraction to players, just like it comes down to a player's attraction to an institution.
Mm-hmm. And so then how do you choose which high school games to go to?
I try to go to in Pennsylvania, 6A and 5A games primarily, because they're the higher end. And to be honest with you, there's probably only 20 good teams in the state, good teams. So, I really don't prefer to go to a single A or double A game, because the quality of competition is really not that good. And, sometimes you have a kid at that level that scores 38 points a game, and mom or dad think they're a rock star. Well, just because you're the prettiest girl in the cul-de-sac don't mean you're Miss America. So you got to put it in perspective at the level at which they're playing. But we go to the standard ones, like North Penn High School in Pennsylvania is 5 minutes from my house. I see almost every home game because I can see every other opponent that they're playing. And that's kind of how we do it. Mm-hmm. I know parents want to know the magic formula, but there isn't one. It's just like, if you called me up and you said, hey, you got to go see so-and-so from so-and-so, I'll take a shot. I'll take a look. You may be wrong in my opinion, or you may be, oh my gosh, she's the smartest woman I ever met. But it's all relative.
It's probably the latter. But okay, so let's say a student athlete passes, the bag test, as you said, and they warm up and they look pretty good. Let's say you're looking for a guard that season. What skills are you looking for from that student athlete?
Well, if you're just talking about just basketball, we're talking about, can they handle the ball? Can they handle it with both hands? Do they have any additional moves? Can they spin dribble? Can they put the ball behind their back? Can they go through their legs? What's their frame? Are they 5'4", 110, or are they 5'7", 130? I mean, that factors in. What are we trying to do with our post guard, like point guard? If we're trying to post her up a little bit in certain situations, can this kid post up? I'm a believer that a traditional point guard should still score 1,000 points in their career. That's like 10 points a game. Like, it's just not, you're going to play 120, 130 games. So you're going to get a couple steals. You should make a couple layups, and you should make a jump shot and a couple fast shots. So we want a scoring guard. We want all of our guards to be able to score. We're coming off a team that had 4,000 point scorers, including our point guard. So if you're just a traditional, I'll set everything up, I'll pass, and I'll backpedal back on defense, that's not what we're looking for. So we want you to be 1/5 of the offense, not 4/5, and you bring it up. That's what we're looking for.
Yeah. And also what I heard there was, it kind of goes back to like what you're looking for that year. It's like, that's what you want in a guard, but some other school might
Correct.
want, like, exactly like you said, just somebody to set it up, set people up, and then backpedal on defense. So I think that's important to note too, is that not.
And the other thing that I add to that is pace of play. Like in Pennsylvania, we don't have a shot clock. I literally watch 6A games that are 28-27. That's the final score. Like, how can I judge if that point guard can go pace of play? Now, you learn that more in AAU, because obviously AAU, they're going to run up and down the floor a little bit. But so shot clock schools give you an advantage looking at young players, because they have to respect the clock. Non-clock schools, it's brutal. Sometimes they'll go 4 corners for 5 minutes. Like, it's brutal. So I think when people make decisions about where to send their daughters to high school, I think that's a factor. Like, if you can send them to a situation where they're playing with a shot clock, that's what we play with. It's like, I never understood why college baseball players play with metal bats. They're going to play with wood. Why wouldn't you use wood in college? I don't know, but they don't.
Yeah. And also with like the non-shot clock, I mean, total possessions in the game have to be cut at least in half, right? So then you talk about fitness and being able, and the high school course already smaller. So it's like, added a bigger court plus a shot clock, you're going to be probably not in shape by the time you get to school.
Think about the fact that you could win a high school game 2-0.
Yeah.
2-0. That's ridiculous in today's, where the game is going with pace of play.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, those are the things that we look for. The higher level kid playing at a higher level, the kid playing that's got versatility, can do things, can score 1,000 points. That's the main thing. And obviously defense. You want a kid that can play some defense.
Mm-hmm.
But we want to get the ball up the court in about 8 seconds, and we want to get a shot if we can. So pace of play is very important to me.
Yeah. And then, so what about you? That was like guards. If you could just touch a little bit on posts, what you might be looking for at the post position.
Well, we definitely want to play, and I think this is something for parents to look at, style of play. We play inside out. We do not play 5 out. We do not play 4 out. We play a situation where we want to get inside. We want to see people try to double the post. We want to kick the ball. We want to reset the post inside. So the particular strengths are obviously the frame of the body, as well as their ability to go block to block and score block to block, and then assess how far out they can step out and maybe make a 15-footer or a 12-footer. But we'll run continuity things where it's keep moving, screen, pass, cut, best shot, that person shoots it. But then we're going to run specific quick hitters where, you're option 1, she's option 2, and she's option 3. And when those options are exhausted, we need to make a play. So can you make a play with 9, 8, 7, 6 being yelled out from the crowd? So, make a layup, big inside, run the floor, because one of the 4 is going to inbound the ball, and the 5 is going to get to the block. And when we transition, one of the 4 or 5 is going to get to the block. So you got to have enough foot speed. You're not going to win the 100-yard dash, but you got to have enough foot speed to get to the block. And we want to post up.
Yeah. I mean, if you're saying you're trying to get the ball up in 8 seconds and get a good shot, they're going to be running quite a lot.
And conditioning is important. You need to recruit a kid that's willing to condition, willing to work at, let's just say, more agility or more leg strength or more upper body strength in the weight room. So that's another component that you're looking for, is like, well, I've never lifted in my life. That's a problem, or I'm not really a lifter. Oh, okay. Well, guess what? I often make a joke. I look around. Do you see your high school banner in this gym? No. Well, this ain't high school. This is what we do here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would think, especially now, you'd be hard pressed to find a school that does not lift in college. I'm saying,
I agree. I agree
because just getting your body right is like the first step to being able to play at the next level, I think.
But I also tell them, I said, when you get here, you have 120 real games. After you graduate, you're going to play in the beer league. You're going to be sponsored by a bar, and you're going to play a 2-3 zone, and you can't wait till the game's over. So in those 120 games that are real, that you got left, how good do you want to be? I can help you with this much, and the system will help you with this much, but there's this much left. How much do you want to put into this much?
Yeah, I actually play in adult league myself, and we got some younger players on the team, and they were like, why don't we go man to man? And we all just looked at them like, what are we about to do?
It's just the nature of life.
Yeah. So you kind of mentioned, like, when a parent is looking at a high school, you mentioned the shot clock. Do you have any other recommendations or tips or just things for a parent to think about when they're choosing a high school?
I think the other thing is, I think you need to look at the roster and you need to assess the age of the roster. So if this current year, they're starting all sophomores and your daughter's a freshman, that's probably going to be a tough lineup to break into. But if they're starting 3 seniors, a junior, and a sophomore, that's probably an easier lineup. So I think assessing the age and the quality of the competition. I also think it's very important that you take your daughter to see the team play, because one of 3 things can happen. You and your daughter have to admit she's not good enough. You and your daughter have to admit she can play there, or you and your daughter have to admit she's better than this program. We should look elsewhere. But sometimes it's like, well, I'm going to go to, in our case, Penn Charter. Well, now when you get to Penn Charter, you see them playing, and you're like, oh man, they're really good. So sometimes I think, it's like that show, Married at First Sight. Like, you don't meet your partner until you get to the altar. Well, that's stupid. So you need to go see the team play while you're still in grade school, or still in high school, I should say, and, assess what you're looking at. And I think you also need to assess how deep the coach goes. Like, they play 5 guys, 5 girls. That's it. Well, that might not be for you. They play 7. That's it. There's 12 on the bench. So I think those are 2 things you really, really need to assess. And then, of course, style of play. Like, your daughter may want to play walk up, slow, Princeton. We don't do that.
So you mentioned you go to JV games. What are the types of things that you're looking for as you're watching a player and trying to project out where they might end up by the time that you might be ready to seriously recruit them and get them on campus?
Well, I'm a believer that for the most part, JV ball is not very good, but it's kids will step out and be noticeable. So it's that kid, the JV game is going to be 22-18, but who scored 15 of those 22 points? So, now she's only 13 years old and she's 87 pounds, but she's just got the mindset. She's got a little bit of a handle. She's got the scoring ability. So that's a kid whose name you put down. And then next year, I want to see where she is. And I'm also a fan of the young ladies that will play JV and then sub in varsity, like when they're, say, a sophomore, because some of them are like, well, I'm not a JV player. I'm going to sit on the varsity bench and never play. That's stupid. Play as much as you can play. You start JV, You're just playing more minutes. So those are the types of things that I look for. It's just like, who catches my eye and for what reason do they catch my eye? It's just not something that you can put a firm finger on, if you will.
Hmm. Yeah, because like you said, it's like context, right? It's what do you need at this time? What does your roster look like? What do you think you might need later? Like your style of play. And like you said, I do think a lot of times we want that formula or that specific like path to follow. And it's like, and this process just isn't that, because when you're dealing with people, I mean, there are so many other factors that you can't even plan for.
Now, the other thing that I think I would add to that comment is you now have to start looking at, is that coach a portal coach? Because now it's not just, I'm going to bring in a true freshman from high school. It's, well, his history is he goes out and gets, 1-year players from grad school or people that are disenchanted with their former school. So he's more of a portal guy as opposed to a high school guy or girl or woman. And where does that put my daughter if she goes in there as a true freshman when she's a junior? He or she could recruit right over her with a portal person. So that's a new element that parents have to be alerted to is, what's the style? And, these bigger time coaches that pay their mortgages by winning games. Do I want an 18-year-old that's unproven, or do I want a 21-year-old that's got 3 years of college experience? Sometimes that's a pretty simple answer. And that is hurting high school recruiting.
So we talked a little bit about the portal before we started recording, and you and your school has been very successful in the past couple of years. And you mentioned that is not, you're not a portal coach. So can you just speak a little bit about like the success you found and why you still remain an avid high school recruiter?
Yes, because I mean, the word culture is overused, but the way we play and the way we do things, it's a process. So I redshirt every freshman. I redshirt. So now they're going to stay 5 years. They're going to get a master's degree, which not a lot of schools can offer. I'm going to keep them on scholarship for 5 years. And I get a 22-year-old that's smarter, more mature, physically, emotionally, all that stuff. So that's number one. But number two, I think it takes 2 years here, your redshirt year and your freshman year, to really get integrated into what we do, how we do it, why we do it. And if you're coming in from another school who has this culture and plays 5 out, and you're coming into my culture and I play inside out, that's a problem. It's like, I'm trying to think of an analogy. It's almost like, you want somebody that is only being exposed to your program, not your program and another program. Well, at this school, we used to do this. And of course I would say, well, there's no banner here from your school, so we don't do that. But I just like the kind of the purity and the teachability of a college freshman. I just think that's really important. And the redshirt year is, we're successful because we redshirt kids. I believe that.
Yeah, it's like you have your own little system of like not a, I don't want to call it a portal, but like the same effects that you might have from the portal, somebody with a little bit more experience, and they know that going in is like, this is kind of the path that we're going to see you on.
Right.
So you mentioned that you would keep that scholarship all 5 years. I think that's awesome. How, or like what things, I guess, so Division II, can you just explain maybe a little bit about the way scholarships work at the Division II level?
Yes, that's a good question. So Division I, St. Joe's is right down in the street. St. Joe's gives you a scholarship, full ride, full ride, full ride, full ride. What we do is, and we'll use round numbers, $60,000 school, and your daughter applies and she gets a $20,000 academic scholarship simply because she applied and simply because she's a student. Merit, academic, presidential, whatever you want to call it. So now the balance is 40,000. So now here's where I come into play. And this is exactly what I tell parents, and I'm going to say it to you. If I LOVE your daughter, I'm going to give her 40,000. If I LUV your daughter, I'm going to give her 25. And if I LIKE your daughter, I'm going to give her 10. And that's how it works. Now, what is the definition of love? Like, I need a shooter right away. And your daughter led the county in threes, and she can shoot off the dribble. She can get her own shot. That's LOVE. And then if I don't need you for 2 years, you need to do some work, that's LUV. And if you're going to be a really good practice player for us and you like the school and we have your major and you're going to be low maintenance but a great teammate, that's LIKE. That's how I do it. So you can get a full ride at Division II. Make no mistake, your daughter can get a full ride, which is a misnomer sometimes about, well, we're going D1. Well, we want a full ride. Okay, well, good luck. You want to play 8 minutes? You want to play 8 minutes a game, or you want to be all region for me? Take your time. When you're both pushing the babies down the street at age 30, division don't matter. Your degree doesn't say Division I or Division II. Go play. Go play.
I think about this, not a lot, but I've thought about this before. It's like, yeah, nobody really cares. And when you play, if you're good enough to play in college and you're playing at a school, what matters is what's happening in your conference, in your region, in your division. Like other things don't really matter as much. And it's like that is the most important thing. And I think that's hard sometimes to get across.
And I say this, young ladies will say to me, well, I'm really torn between you and this school and this school. I said, ask yourself one question. If the school you pick drops basketball, will you stay there? And if the answer is yes, that's the school. That is the school. Go for the school. Go for the environment. Go for the education. And oh, by the way, we can pay your way through a really nice recreational activity. That's what I tell them all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're only here for basketball, then don't pick this school.
Yeah. So you said like a misnomer about Division II is you can't get a full ride. What are some things that like student athletes or their parents can ask when they're discussing scholarships at the Division II level with a coach?
I think the biggest thing is, and I was trying to bring it up, but is to say, like, can you explain exactly how financial aid and or scholarships work, athletic scholarships work at Division II? You know, like what happens with Pell money? What happens with FIA money? What happens with the Harry Johnson Memorial Award from the Kiwanis Club when I get that? So I always try to explain to them, you know, their money that their daughter's earning because she's a student and our money, you know, basketball. So it's, you know, it's certainly a question that needs to be asked by parents, and it should be a question being raised by coaches or a statement being raised by coaches.
Yeah. So when
the other thing I want to make sure
it.
I mention is that two other things about Division II that parents should know if they don't know. When the academic year ends, we are not permitted to work with your daughters over the summer. So if your daughter came into the gym and said, Coach, to my player and said, Coach, can you rebound? I cannot rebound. They can work with the fitness director, but not us. So they have their summers off, which at Division I, you know, you do not. You're there all year round. The second thing is Division II has a national shutdown at Christmas. We are closed for 7 days in Christmas. No games, no practice, nothing but recruiting. So your daughter's going to be home for Christmas. And I just think there are two big selling points. I always say, if you work for Hershey Chocolate, you don't go home and eat chocolate. You need some time off to go be a girl and go have fun and go do whatever you do at 18 to 22 years old. And I don't know that, you know, and I'm not speaking ill of Division I. It's a great opportunity for kids. But if you're not like crazy nuts about basketball, you might want to look at Division II or Division III.
Yeah, like, I mean, just again, like you said, it's like what is appropriate for you as a student athlete? Like, what do you really want to get out of college and the experience playing and education and all of that as well? So, yeah, I think those are great points. And so with Division II and the scholarships, I guess, how do you like work it year over year? Because I know some, you have the flexibility to say, oh, I can increase yours here, or, you know, how does that work for you in your program?
Well, for me, I try to, with the academic award and what I give, I try to get every player to a minimum of tuition. So tuition for us is $47,000. So if you got 20, then I'm inclined to come in and say, okay, I'm gonna give you 27 at a minimum. So now your parents are responsible for room and board, which puts us competitive with the state schools. Mm. Now, above that, if you move into the, you know, LUV stage, then it's like, okay, and I see you, I project you out. I see you in your sophomore year competing to start. I'm going to pick up, in addition, I'm going to pick up your dormitory. So now your parents are responsible for the board plan. So it's kind of a piecemeal thing. Or I might bring you in at tuition and excuse me, that year you have a really good year, you do well academically, you're socially grounded, and I'll say I'm going to pick up your room for next year. Simply because you're a good kid and you help our culture, or you knock down a lot of threes and you're better than I thought you were, or you're really improved, or whatever the case is. So, I haven't, in 42 years, I've never decreased a scholarship. We have the right to do that if your daughter's a knucklehead, but we haven't had to do that. So it's kind of piecemeal money that you can give out as you deem appropriate, but I'm never going to take my kids down, and I'm not going to recruit over my kid. Like, if you're my point guard of the future and you're not quite what I thought you were, I owe it to you to get you in the rotation and play you. You may not start, you may start and lose your starting job, but I owe you that rotation. And that's just what I think. I try to treat you like I would want you to treat my daughters. I have 2 daughters. And that's usually a pretty good barometer for me.
Mm-hmm. And so then you kind of mentioned this too, like room, board, things like that. I feel like people maybe aren't sure about what scholarships actually cover. And so I just want to say out loud too that, sometimes there's books that you have to buy.
Tuition, we cover tuition. We cover your room, which is your dormitory housing. That's on campus housing. We do not write checks to apartment buildings. So if you're going to be living in the dorms, you're going to be on campus. And then we cover the meal plan, which is a 19-meal plan. So it's two meals on Saturday and Sunday, 3 meals the rest of the week. And then there's a general fee. I still don't know what that means, but we have a general fee, and we cover that. We do not cover books. That's the one thing now schools can and do, but we don't. So that's a full ride to us would be tuition, room, board, and general fee, which is going to be total about $63,000 times 5.
Yeah, and because you said a master's too, that's a pretty sweet deal. I don't know.
And allow me to segue, if I may.
Yeah, please.
When you're young and your phone rings and you don't recognize the number, answer it. It might be me with money. They don't do it. They don't answer the phone. They're stupid. Answer the phone.
And you actually, this is like more for me. You mentioned before, like you call them and then you hear like a very long song. Does that happen often? Because I feel like those voicemails are done with.
I never liked Biggie Smalls when he was alive. I don't need to hear him on your voicemail, or Alan Jackson. Like I just want, hi, this is Mary. I'm sorry I'm not here right now. Please leave a normal business message. I know you're 17. I get it, but I'm 70. I just want to talk to you.
So kind of along those same lines, you say talking to AAU coaches, the phone calls, what other things are you doing to try to properly vet on your end if a student athlete is a good fit for you?
If I get involved with them to the point where I'm in conversations with them, I will pretty much have already vetted them with the people that I want to do. And the biggest place to, get a better understanding of what the young person is all about is talking to them on the phone. So, and for example, how you doing? Good. How was your day? Good. I'm not interested. Engage me. Fake it. You just fake it. Engage me. My day was great, Coach. How was your day? Good. So how's this, and what do we talk about? We talk about summer vacations. We talk about proms. We talk about part-time jobs. We talk about, what do you like to do for a hobby? Engage me, banter back and forth. Because when you get in an interview and you go, good, yeah, you're not getting a job. So let's get that out of the way now and have a conversation. And I think that's, I like that. So, and if I call you, call me back. You call me, I'll call you back. I had a young lady the other day. That's a good example. She's a 26, and I called her, left a message. 2 days go by. I texted her, and I said, "Did you get my phone call?" Yes, but that day I was in games all day. So I wrote back, "Your parents should call Child Protection Services. It's not right that you played a game every hour of the day and couldn't call me back." Well, we didn't. So I wrote back, "So you had time." And again, a man with money is trying to call you. Be responsive. I don't know what else to say. It's like, this is easy. It's easy.
Hmm. Yeah. So maybe this kind of leads into my next question, maybe, but maybe there's something else. But where do you see a lot of student athletes falling short in the recruiting process?
For me, patting me on, not literally, but patting me on the head and saying, let me check out the D1s.
Mm.
Talk to everybody. Be nice to everybody. If in your heart you know you're looking at the 3D1s and you know I'm a second tier choice, don't make me feel like a second tier choice. It's like before I tell you you don't have the job, I'm going to make sure the person I want takes the job. Because if they don't, I'm going to hire you. And I think, and it's not so much the kids with D1, it's the parents, it's the AAU group, especially like I'll sign a kid and they'll be like, are you kids going D2? Seriously? Meanwhile, you're an accountant or you're a plumber. What do you really know about D1 and D2 other than D1 is D1? So, I just think sometimes there's that misinformation about, like we're playing on our program right now is playing at a national stage level. Is that not good enough because we have an extra Roman numeral? Like, come on. So I think, I think the kids either fall short because they don't keep in touch and they don't follow up and they don't send schedules like I asked you to with what court you're going to be on and things like that. And the kids that get it, the kids that are on it, that's the kid you want to be around. I'll make you a better player, but I can't always make you a better person. So
It's
it's
like
really important.
it just sounds like being responsive and engaged with what is actually happening and the opportunities that you have, right? Like you
Yep.
said, I mean, just kind of go where you're wanted. And I've been to, some AAU practices and I'll ask like, okay, what's the status? Where are some of the kids? What are they interested in? Who's looking at them? And then they'll say, oh, this school, this school, this school. Maybe they're Division 3 schools, maybe they're Division 2 schools. And then they're like, but they're getting some D1 looks. And I'm like, okay, but like who is actually kind of like
Right.
putting their money where their mouth is in this
Right.
moment and saying like, we want that kid. And I think that's like very important to recognize, and it's okay to like not go D1.
It's funny to your point. The other thing about that is there's a real rush to be offered and a real rush to get committed. And I think that's a major mistake because we won't offer anybody until their AAU season's over because you're paying to be seen. So if you tell me you committed to somewhere in June at the start of AAU, I'm not going to go. That's like you got engaged. Well, okay, you're engaged. I'm not going to be around you anymore. Like, why would you do that? So, like, to me, if you're going to sign up for AAU, play the whole season. Let everybody see you that wants to see you. Let you see everybody that you want to see, and then make your decision. But the whole thing now, we got to have streamers and balloons, and we got to go. I got an offer. Thank you, Jesus. I mean, stop. Just stop. Nobody needs to know who offered you. Nobody needs to know. Just stay in the weeds. Just keep it your own business.
Stay low.
Because if I know like Lehigh, Lafayette, and St. Joe's offered you, I'm going to go away just because they're 3-1s. Where if I didn't know that, I'm going to keep fighting if I can get you.
Yeah, and I also think because I have had conversations with student athletes where they post those offers, and I ask them like, okay, like what do you like? Where are you at with those schools? And they're just kind of like, well, they're not really what I'm looking for. And I'm like, okay, but don't post that then because you
They have
might
to.
like you said, it might turn off a school that you're actually maybe interested in going to.
It's an addiction. It's an addiction, and it's the parents want it too. The parents want to say, "Susie got offered. Susie got this," and it don't matter. It doesn't matter.
Mhm.
Like I always make the joke, like Jesus died. St. Peter said the next mass. Like life goes on.
Mhm.
Like it's not the end of the world because you got offered by somebody. Who cares?
Yeah.
Nobody really cares.
So, so then, like from your timeline, like the way that you do offers, or I guess maybe what would be your recommendation to a student athlete who's like they get off? Let's say I get offered in June, and I'm like, I don't want to make a decision till the end of the AAU season, and they say, well, this offer is only good for 2 weeks. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
No, thank you. I'll pass. I'm going to wait. That's what I would say. Now, parents, oh my God, she could get so much money from XYZ.
Mm-hmm.
Is XYZ where she wants to go? Does she really investigate XYZ? Does she have all the answers? Like, I think you got to I'm not prepared to make a decision right now, but I'm very interested in your school. That's my response. Like, then the answer too is take the offer and quit AAU and try to get a refund. Put some money back in your parents' retirement account. Like, why are you playing? And the answer is for my friends. So I should spend $10,000 so your friends can play with you? No, bad idea. So I really believe going into your senior year, if you're going to play AAU, you're not going to make a commitment, and you'll just accept the offers privately. That's my opinion.
Yeah. So then you say you don't offer until after the season. Are there any other like mark points that you all go through before you offer somebody?
Yes, I want on what we call the first date when they come down here. Look around, get the broad stroke, see the campus, where we're located, the buildings, the neighborhood. I always take them through the neighborhood, like we're the school, but what's around here. The second time I wanted to come back, I wanted to meet with the players, some players. Now, if it's summertime, we bring some players in. If it's the school year, they'll meet with 4 or 5 or 6 of them. And then the third time come back and we meet with the academic people. Very important. I'm going to be a psychology major. Okay, well, here's what you need to do psychology. Here's the types of jobs that our psychology majors have gotten. And here's the salary lines that they've gotten. Because the end all be all here is get a job and make money. So we want to make sure we incorporate that in. And then if they so choose to have an official visit, we want that completed by September 15th, which gives us 1 month. And then we're making an offer. And then they can, we give them a couple of weeks if they're not sure, whatever, 10 days, 15 days. And then pretty much not later than Halloween, we're done with our offers. Now, that doesn't mean they got accepted. That just means we're done. And if we don't do it then, we're not going to do it till the end of high school season. I'm not in a rush. Like, I'm not in a rush just to claim bodies. I want the right kids that are the right kind of players.
And so it sounds like those offers are typically always made in that student athlete's senior year.
Yes, they have just started their senior year. Now they can tell, like in the summer, they're calling me, I'm calling them. We're to the point where we don't even have to say our names anymore. Like, hey, what's up? How you doing? Like they can tell we're really interested, and we're going to most likely make an offer. And I can tell they're interested because they're engaging me. So sometimes it's a foregone conclusion. It's going to happen. Mm-hmm. But I also, sometimes parents will ask me outright, are you going to offer her? I am, but I'm not going to offer her until the end of the because in the last week, let's say St. Joe's shows up and they offer her a full ride, and she never in a million years thought that would happen. And she wants to take it, go. That's great for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's smart too, to think about it that way, because it's like you want to make sure you're most efficient with your energy and where you put the offers, and putting them in too early, it just might, you're waiting on something that you don't even know if it's ever going to happen.
Now, example, this weekend, we're going to go to Atlantic City and we're going to watch the 25s and 26s play that we want. And I call this the Stevie Wonder phase. Now, some kids don't even know who Stevie Wonder is, but it's just, I call to say I love you. Like, I'm just here. I know I want to recruit you. I know I want to offer you, but I'm just here watching, so you know that I care and I'm interested and I want you to come to us. So we call that the Stevie Wonder phase.
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny. So all right, so let's move a little bit to the transition to college. So that can be a fairly stressful time for parents and student athletes. What do you recommend to student athletes to make the most out of their first year? Like, what can they do to prepare academically and then also on the basketball court?
I think for people ask me all the time, like, I don't really give the incoming seniors a workout program. I want them to go have fun. It's their last year. They're done. I just tell them, you need to come back in shape. Come back in shape. Like, we're going to run sixes. We're going to do this kind of running. We're going to do drills with a 15-second shot clock. So, like, we got to get up at 10 before. So that's number one. Number two, I try to talk to them about what are they worried about. So, well, I'm going to miss my dog. I'm going to miss, my mom or my dad or both, or I'm in a relationship and they're still going to be a senior in high school, or they went into the military. So I try to process those things so that when we put them in study hall individually, how's your dog doing? Good. Or how's your mom and dad doing? See your parents this weekend or whatever. So that's the one thing. I try to find it, like what their pressure points are and address them. And then conversely, if I see some drastic personality change of some sort, I will call the parents confidentially and say, like, I'm like, she's just looking like she got beat up and she's tired and she's lethargic. And is there something I don't know about? So that doesn't happen much, but you'll do that. And then we also buddy them off with an upperclassman. So like you come in and you're going to be with Cassie, and Cassie's like your go-to of like, well, what do you guys do on the weekend? Well, Friday we're doing this, so you're coming, and Saturday we're going to go here. And if you want to come, you can, but other kids are going down here. So it's kind of like a student coach, if you will, a little bit. And then that's really about it. And we have a thing called Starfish where when kids do good things, professors can tell us about it. And when they do bad things, they tell us about it. So anytime, she did a good job in her test or she gave a great presentation, we talk about that and pump them up. I mean, part of this is you got to grow up and you got to move on. The biggest culture change for them when they come in is we have standard dormitories where the bathroom's at the end of the hallway, and that kills them. It kills them. So like, we got to get past that.
That's the big hurdle.
I think for us, it's about sensitivity. It's about understanding that what I don't think is a big deal is a major deal to you. And I have to respect that. It's like, you're not sleeping in your bed for the first time in 18 years. Like, I get it. So that's, and I think parents have to assess that. And I also think parents need to spend time with current players without the coach. All right. I hear what he says. What's he like?
Mm-hmm.
And I always tell him, I'm too old to lie to you because I'll forget what I said. So I just tell you the truth and then I don't have to worry about it. But you want the players to validate to the kid and to the parents that what I'm saying is what I am.
So then you kind of mentioned a question, but like what other questions would you advise parents to ask current student athletes?
What's the transition like? What's managing, being on your own like? What's managing your basketball time and your school time like? What do you do when you're not on campus? Where do you go? Is the neighborhood safe? Do you travel together? Are you cliquey as a team? Are you buddies? Those standard types. I mean, some of this is like the kids just got to come in and grow up. Like, suck it up, keep moving. Now life's still different here, but it's fun. Like I always tell them, you can go get a cheesesteak at midnight. You're allowed to do that now. You weren't allowed to do that at home, so go do it.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, it's like that freedom. I think the freedom that you get when you're in college, it's like that. That's like nothing like you may have experienced to that point for most people, I think. Like
our kids are playing the summer league over at Willow Grove, and I'm like, in June, glad to be home. Yeah. Now this week, you ready to come back? Oh yeah. They want to know where I'm going all the time. I can't stand it. Like, it's just a rite of passage. That's all it is.
And I feel like that never goes away. Like I stay at my parents' house and still they're like, oh, where are you going? When are you getting home? And it's like, I've lived on my own for how long? And you still need to know my whereabouts.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
That's what moms do. They're the best.
All right. So here's the last couple questions that I ask all guests. So what book or podcast would you recommend every incoming first year read before their first season begins, and why?
Well, I think they should listen to your podcast. That's what I think.
Oh, I appreciate that.
I have to say this. I'm not a reader, so I would say I really can't speak to that in terms of what book to read or what podcast to listen to. I think the best thing they can do is they can ask questions of current student athletes that are in your program. Like, what should I know about the first week? I'm told I have to have a copybook. What's that for? What's lifting like? Like, get the source, go right to the source. Like, like a podcast from somebody in Iowa is not going to prepare you for college, but talking to one of my players is going to prepare you. So,
Yeah, and I think it's also important. I love that suggestion, and I think it's also important to note it's like know what the answers mean, right?
exactly. That's a good point.
And that's I think the harder part is like if a parent asks like one of your students, oh, like what's the like that first year, like what's the first semester like, and in their answer you can tell if the coaching staff gives them support, if they feel safe, but it's like knowing kind of what you're listening for, I think is important too.
I agree. The three things I tell them they have to answer is how far away from home will you go? Do they have your major? And how big? Like you want 100,000 people in Penn State, you want 10,000 people at Monmouth, you want 2,500 people here. And the other thing too is I'll get letters like, I love your school, I love your program, I love the way you play, I can't wait to be a teacher. But we don't have teaching. So obviously you didn't do your homework. Do your homework.
Yeah, that's important too. All right, so if you could snap your fingers and kind of change one thing about the recruiting process or AAU in general, what would it be?
It would go back to the AAU would go back to the way it was in 1981 when I started. AAU was a special invitation for high level players. Like if you can't play, you were not invited. There's too many parents thinking that the AAU is a CD, and if I invest in this, my kid will get a scholarship. And they'll probably hang me for saying this. Most kids that play in AAU are not good enough to play at our level. They're not. They're just not. Mm-hmm. And therefore, you're going to go to Division III, and you're going to pay because there's no athletic scholarships. So I think parents need to really, really evaluate, is this right for my kid? Like, do we really need to go to run to Kentucky run for the Roses and Ohio and Indiana and take out our retirement money to go? It's not, I always think like this too. If you're really good, get a personal trainer, rent a local gym, bring your girlfriends over and play. If you're good enough, you will be found. You can play for St. Mary's of the Mountains, and if you're good enough, you will be found. You just will. This AAU thing is way, way, way overstated.
All right, so that could have been the answer to this last one too, but just any final words of wisdom?
Yeah, I think that my biggest issue when I recruit are parents, and particularly fathers without sons. You live vicariously through your daughter.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it's their turn. Let them go. Like example, what position do you see yourself playing in college? Well, we see her as a 3. I think she should be like, no. You, what position are you? Like, we want to build relationships with your daughter. You're there to guide and counsel, but it's me and her and me, or the staff. So I think parents need to be cautious that they're not overstepping and they're not, putting too much input. Like, don't come to me because I give the most money. Come to me because it's the right fit for your daughter. Fit. So those are my big things. People say that kids change. Kids haven't changed. Parents have changed. Their expectations are unrealistic of their child's skill set. Like for my father to spend money to send me to chemistry class would have been stupid because I'm not a chemistry person. So like recognize your limitations and accentuate your positives.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect place to end. Or actually, wait, sorry. If anybody wants to find out more about Jefferson, how can they do that?
Yeah, they can call me. My again, it's Tom Shirley. My cell is 215-421-0613, and my email is tom.shirley@jefferson.edu. And if they mention this podcast, I'll even be extra special nice. I'll be nice to everybody. But no, I'm even happy to answer questions for people who have no interest in Jefferson, just to try to help. That's all.
Yeah, I'm sure people appreciate that, and I hope people take advantage of that as well, because definitely a lot of expertise and knowledge. But Coach, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure. I enjoyed it. Thank you. Thanks for listening.
Thank you so much for listening. If you're looking for more specific recruiting advice based on your situation, head over to hoopsthroughlife.com today to schedule your free 30-minute strategy session with me. We will discuss where you currently are in the recruiting process, where you want to go, and create a plan to get you there. Again, that's hoopsthroughlife.com, hoopsthroughlife.com. And if you have any questions for me or questions you want me to ask future guests, you can email me at l@hoopsthroughlife.com. That's EL@hoopsthroughlife.com. I look forward to hearing from you soon.